Who are you?
I'm Queen
I
Elsa.
got this.
Okay.
It began with two sisters.
Frozen 2 is Walt Disney Animation Studios' fourth sequel. And we know that for sequels, you make up your own story, but you also listen to questions from the audience. Like, why does Elsa have powers? I know we're gonna get the answer in this movie, but what other questions do people ask you and wanted you to answer?
Well, there were so many. I think the question of why does Elsa have powers, though, was the one we were really thinking about ourselves, and that's what drove us. And I think there's so many questions that come in that if we tried to answer, it would be a mini series and probably very confusing. So we really we have to go to what we feel like is something that we want to know, and we can actively make a film about. So I think that was the biggest one of all. But also questions of where were the parents going? We wanted to know that too. Was another one. Are Anna and Kristoff destined to be together? Is she going to have better luck in love this time? How does Olaf change through all this? What's he doing now? Which was really fun to think about him growing, him getting older and maturing, and yeah.
I know a live reindeer was brought into the studio for Frozen so that animators could copy their movements for Sven. So what was the biggest moment during the production of Frozen 2 for you?
I think, going on the research trip, and obviously we went far above the Arctic Circle. We actually went to a reindeer Sita up there, learned a lot more about reindeer, I think, than we knew on the first film. Going to Norway and to Finland felt very much like a very fairy tale setting with the fall colors. We were there in September with the fall colors, and Anna felt very much at home in this fairy tale setting. But then the contrast when we went to Iceland and realizing strangely that Elsa felt at home there, and the realization that we always had two different characters. We had a fairy tale character in Anna, but a more mythic character in Elsa. She carries the weight of the world on her shoulders. And I think that contrast really resonated with us as a result of the trip.
There were many crazy theories around Frozen and Tarzan being the brother of Elsa and Anna. I know, I know. What was the craziest theory that you heard?
Well, there's one about the ship at the bottom of the sea is the one that Ariel sort of
is an Ariel that the one she swims through.
The parent ship.
That was pretty interesting, I think.
I think I love just the fact that people's imaginations, just go wild with all our films, and they always are trying to connect them and weave them together. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool.
There's a scene that blew my mind where Elsa is at the ocean. And I wanted to ask if that was the hardest scene to render and to create.
Oddly, it wasn't. One of the sequences we haven't shown any footage of yet was we had to wait till the end so everything could be finished, so all the computers and some we borrowed from Google could actually render it.
Thinking about all the characters that you've created during your whole life, how does it feel for you that your baby is out there?
Well, I think as an artist or anybody who is trying to communicate something to the world, to have something like this connect with people so deeply, it's very overwhelming. And there are times when you see people dressed up as the characters and people tell us stories of how much the movie meant to them. We had stories where people said, my family got back together because of the first movie. If we can, even touch one person's life and affect it that way, it's all worth it.
How do you choose what characters are gonna have a song? Now that I know Kristoff is having one here and Elsa is having two.
What's funny is we always, in the first one, wanted Kristoff to have a song because Jonathan Groff is such an incredible singer and Kristoff's such a significant character. But you really can only sing if it's right for the story in that moment and the emotion is there. And this is a guy who was not opening up until the end and didn't know what love was and so in a way the way the scenes worked, it didn't lend itself to song, and it was so interesting to discover that because you can't force it. So I think in the second film, though, it was easy to feel him, not that easy to write, but easy to feel a song underneath there. And with Elsa, I mean, she has two songs in Frozen 2, And I love to look at Let It Go as a beginning for her. Let It Go is sort of a rebellion and just accept yourself, and Into the Unknown says, well, now you have to act. Now that you've accepted yourself, you have a lot to do. And then there's a third song that takes her to even another place.
We have a wonderful Olaf song, a new song. You see a little bit more Olaf growing up. And I think and the beautiful lullaby, but I think one of the biggest surprises will be Anna's song.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very powerful song.
Very different.
I believe in you, Elsa. More than anyone or anything.